Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the PCF Group PLC General Meeting. Throughout this recorded meeting, attendees online will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged. They can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab that's just situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Please just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. I'd now like to hand you over to Chairman Simon Moore. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you very much, Jake. Welcome, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome everybody to the general meeting of the company, both those here in the room and anyone who's online as well. Thanks very much indeed. My name is Simon Moore. I'm Chairman of the company. Those of you who've been to these meetings before will know the form. And the way we'll run this meeting is the formal business of the day will be conducted first. And then when we complete that and close the formal general meeting, then the directors are available to receive general questions on the company, including anything submitted prior to the meeting. Before we start, I'd like to introduce the directors here. On my left is David Brown. Morgan. Sorry. David Morgan. I'll get the other wrong, David. All right, Gary Stone, I think is the name. Correct. And Rob says we don't. My apologies, everybody. It's just gone 12 o'clock. We have a quorum, so I now declare the meeting open. You've all received notice of the meeting that's posted on the 22nd of November, and with your permission, I will take that notice as read. The objections? Thank you very much, everybody. Let me just run through the formalities of how we'll run the meeting today. The meeting will be conducted by way of a poll rather than show of hands, which gives opportunities to the shareholders to participate in proportion to the number of shares they own, and allows the company to have better insight into shareholder views. The procedure that we'll follow here is there'll be a summary of the resolution on the screen in front of you, together with a breakdown of proxy votes received. It takes a little while to complete the process at the end of the meeting, so we won't be publishing the results today, but they will be published by RNS and on the website in the usual way as soon as reasonably practical. For those of you who will be voting by poll card, you were given a poll card in which you've got three options: either vote for the resolution, or against the resolution, or abstain from the resolution. You alternatively have the option to withhold your vote. A vote withheld is not, of course, a vote in law, and won't be included in the calculation, therefore. So I'd ask you to complete your poll card by ticking the appropriate box next to the resolution. Once they've all been counted, please sign the poll card so that before you hand them in for conclusion. The Company Secretary will then collect them. If you do have any questions, please do ask the Company Secretary at any stage of the process. So that's all clear. Let's turn to the purpose of today's general meeting. The purpose of the meeting today is to consider the resolution that this general meeting resolves that the cancellation of the admission of the ordinary shares in the capital of the company to trading on AIM, a market operated by the London Stock Exchange, be and hereby approved. I remind everybody this is a special resolution and therefore requires a majority of 75% or more of those voting in order to be carried. So before we move to the poll, I propose that we take questions now on the resolution itself, not on general questions. We'll take those after the conclusion of the formal meeting. We have received two questions in advance. Tim, are you going to read out the first question for us? Is that appropriate?
Yeah, I can read. So, question: in clause 4 of the circular, it states that shareholders may in due course receive a distribution arising from the company having surplus funds available at the end of the wind down process. Presumably, in arriving at the decision to recommend delisting the company, the board reviewed financial forecasts showing what the likely surplus would be. Please could you advise shareholders what the likely surplus was in those forecasts and how much they're likely to receive per 5p ordinary share?
That was actually question 2, but we'll take it now as you've raised it first. Gary, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think that in the public domain is the net asset value of the company. everybody will be aware that for the board to continue to run the company as a going concern from a solvency perspective, it has a reasonable expectation that the business can meet its liabilities as it falls due. There are a number of variables that play into whether there is a surplus, and if so, the quantum of that surplus. Number one being the costs of running off the business, and number two being the value that we receive for the assets of the business, particularly the loan book, whether that be through a natural amortisation or whether that be through a sale of those assets. So there are lots of variables in there. Of course, the board have reviewed the plan and approved the plan, but it wouldn't be appropriate to give a commitment as to what level of return that there would be for shareholders in the event of a surplus because of the variables which are at play here.
So in summary, we can't know what value we generate, but everything we're doing is to maximise that value.
Correct. That plays to the other question. I think everybody realises that there is a net asset value, and the realisation depends on the costs and the realisation of the assets.
So thank you very much, Gary. Tim, have you got the first question there?
Yes. At what stage is the company going to be run for the benefit of shareholders rather than the multiple layers of management compliance that have effectively destroyed shareholder value?
Which is, Gary's already introduced us into those themes, which you want to expand on.
Yeah, well, obviously shareholders will realise that directors have a legal responsibility to run the company for the benefit of shareholders and to take into account other stakeholders as well, but primarily the shareholders. The business has been run for the benefit of shareholders, and all the decisions we have taken that responsibility very, very seriously. And I think that the question is a very direct question because it talks about it being run for the benefit of multiple layers of management and compliance. And I just don't think that's the case. The business has been run for the benefit of shareholders at all times. There have been some very hard decisions for this board to take in relation to the future of this business, including making recently nearly 60 people redundant, of which a significant number had 25 years service. Those are not decisions you take if you are running the business for the benefit of management and not for the benefit of shareholders. So I think all directors, and certainly I as the chief executive, can look myself in the mirror and say we have had shareholders, and particularly minority shareholders, at the forethought of our minds all the way through this process.
Excellent. Thanks, Gary. Tim, have we got any other questions online?
We've received no further questions.
Any further questions in the room?
Yes, please. My name is Roy England, for those who don't know me. Question for Somers Group, really. And taking into account, I'm trying to represent the other 27% here. Somers Group understand what's been going on over the last many months. Many of us don't. So I'm asking Somers Group to adjourn this meeting today until after the annual accounts are submitted, so that the 27% have a much better idea as to what's been going on. We get a much fuller picture at the year-end accounts. We don't really understand what's going on. You were asked last week at the question and answer session as to where all this started. Well, it started on the 15th of March 2021. And a few months after that, the company started to go downhill. Suspension of the shares, leading to the RNS of June 2021. In that, it's hard to believe that a £70 million company can be taken down to a £2 million company in a matter of 18 months. A company that's been running for 25 years has been demolished in 18 months. And I'm looking at you, especially, and your CFO for this. The costs put on this are disproportionate to the size of the bank. 2.9 million in the first 6 months alone. Is there another 2.9 million in the second half of the year? What was it for? If you're going to wind the company up, you've incurred all those costs for what reason? But anyway, I come back again. I would like Somers to postpone this meeting, to adjourn it until the full year accounts are presented. I know your reasons for doing it are to do with costs, but the costs are minimal. The cost of the listing isn't very much. Management cost is management cost. You said £300,000 last week or thereabouts.
Oh.
That's not very much in the scheme of things, is it? £300,000 in order to defer so that the rest of the 27% get a much better idea as to what's been going on in the second half of last year.
I think there's two questions there. One is the sums, and one was to me around the CEO. So I don't know. Do you want both?
I'm not quite finished yet, if I may, because I am perplexed as to how this company has been taken down the way it has. If you look at the RNS of June 2021, look, I understand regulation and compliance, making sure that your regulatory compliance and making your returns are compliant. But a bit of manuscript amending in respect of large company exposures, leading on to some not significant accounting errors, so far as we can tell, according to the RNS. And all of a sudden, we've got a share suspension going on and on and on, an audit going on and on and on. It seems that there was a bit of a witch hunt against Scott. It looks as though you were looking for something and you didn't find it. 40,000 emails looking for the word hide. Really? It was disproportionate for the company. It's just out of all proportion to what was required. And then the castle discussions went on and on and on and on for months. They should have been cut and moved on. If I look at the interim results of to the end of March, it's a fairly, I wouldn't say it's a rosy picture, but there was no expectation of where we would be today.
So, Roy, you've given us quite a lot of facts and thoughts there. Would you like to summarise that as a question, which I'll ask?
The question is, please, can Summers adjourn this meeting today in order for the full year accounts to be published before the AIM listing is suspended? That's the question.
Would you like me to handle that? I mean, first and foremost, Roy, I'm here as a PCF director today. I'm not here as a Summers director. Okay, so the question you can ask, there's nobody in the room today that's able to answer that question. So you're posing it to the wrong person.
Okay, in that case, can I please ask that somebody takes it away and ask Summers to deliberate again before today's vote? Please.
That's not going to happen, I'm afraid.
I think there's a legal point here, isn't there?
Well, absent the chair deciding to adjourn the meeting to give consideration to the shareholders' request, the meeting continues.
That's the legal point.
What I would like to do actually is just temporarily adjourn and have a discussion with my legal counsel, if that's okay, just in private.
That's fine. Would you like me to leave the room, or?
I think it would be appropriate, yes. That's okay, thank you.
Pause.
Yeah, Jake, can we pause this?
Yep, Tim, absolutely. Can I please thank the board for updating attendees online this afternoon? And can I please ask attendees online not to close this session, as you'll be now automatically redirected in order to provide your feedback in order that the board...
Jake, we're just pausing. We need to restart it.
Okay. All right. Okay, Tim, what I'll do is I will mute you from this end, okay?
Don't turn the cameras off.
Thank you.
All good?
Ladies and gentlemen, for those online who have just joined recently, the board have just asked for a couple of minutes before then resuming the general meeting, so we will be back with you shortly. Thank you very much.
Camera's back on?
Hi guys, just to confirm in the room, your camera and microphone feeds are now live.
Thanks very much, Jake. Right, welcome back. Thanks very much indeed. The answer to the question,
Should we formally reconvene the meeting
indeed.
following the adjournment?
Thanks very much. So the meeting is now has now been recommenced. That's the right word.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Duncan. Roy, we considered the request which you put to us, and the position is quite clear that I don't hold the legal authority to adjourn the meeting on this point, as you requested. I have an instruction from Somerset holding majority of the stock to vote in favour of this resolution today. So thank you for raising the question, but I can't take it forward into the meeting, but the minutes will reflect, of course, that you raised it. Would you like us to talk about the costs issue that you raised?
If the £300,000 number can be amplified, fine. Yeah, let's please have a little more on that.
Well, I think on the £300,000 number, that is the direct cost. I take your point that it's taken in the round, it's a contribution rather than a material sum, but it is a contribution. I think the other thing is that the board considered the benefits of remaining listed. You will know that you are a listed entity for reasons of liquidity and capital, and those reasons appear to not be relevant for this business anymore. And I just pick up on the other rather direct point you made. You mentioned the term witch hunt. I, as a director, not as the CEO, and so therefore as a member of the board, I can assure you there's never been any witch hunt at this board for anybody. The second thing I think is important is that, forgive me, Roy, I didn't write down contemporaneously exactly what you said, but I think you talked about a few manuscript amendments or words to that effect. I think our June 21 RNS was very comprehensive and talked about unpapered asset transfers between entities. Now, that's more than a manuscript amendment. That's quite a significant issue, and therefore I think that the costs that the business incurred were absolutely necessary if we were to continue to protect the franchise, because what generates value for shareholders is the franchise, being able to continue to originate lending and operate as a bank on a normal basis. And any costs that we incurred were done to ensure that we could continue doing that with the preferred outcome that the business could have a sustainable future. Sadly, as we sit here today, that's not the case, apart from in the strategic option which we've chosen. So I would say to you that whilst you would say that it's disproportionate, it was absolutely proportionate to the challenges we faced at the time. And at every turn, the board sought to minimise those costs. It may not feel like that to you, I understand that, but I can assure you we did.
This is probably not the place to have this debate or time, but allied with that, the decision was also taken to sort of curtail the business. So profitability gets rid of most problems. So having loaded lots of costs on the business, profitability seemed to go out of the window at the same time. Writing new business seemed to go out of the window at the same time. And that's what's brought us to this pass. As I say, I don't think this is probably the right forum for this debate, and I could debate this with you all day, partly from a position of ignorance, because we really don't know. The 27% don't know. We saw the castle thing drag on week in, week out. We saw the suspension drag on week in, week out. And we're sitting out there wondering what on earth's going on. So you say all shareholders are being treated equally. We have not been.
And just to our point of precision, I don't think I did say that. I think what I said was that the interests of shareholders are at the forefront.
You did say that, and I acknowledge that, and I noted your words carefully. But nevertheless, I don't think this is the right forum to carry on this debate.
I think that's right.
I've made my point.
You have, and you raised it very well.
And I should stop there.
Thank you, Roy.
So thank you for allowing me to make it. Thank you for considering it. It's a bit of a blow. I thought that maybe there was a means by which we could see a full year's accounts. But I would make one last request, that the full year accounts are published in a timely manner. They don't come out in June 2023, and that they are as comprehensive as those last year, at least as comprehensive as those last year, please.
I think Caroline confirmed last week at the investor management meeting that we were targeting to get the accounts out in a timely manner. And I can assure you, because I spent too many hours reviewing them, they are very comprehensive.
My response was that she said that you would comply with your legal and regulatory compliance requirements. Now, having listed,
we're straying beyond the resolution.
I know. I should stop. I agree. I should stop.
Okay. Thanks very much, everybody. Are there any other further questions on the resolution? No other further question on the resolution. In that case, we will proceed to the vote by way of poll on the resolution. I will be asking shareholders present to complete their poll cards on the resolutions. Formally, I declare the poll open. Just to remind you, as I explained at the beginning, to vote on the resolution, please tick the appropriate box on your poll card.
He's got mine.
Either for, against, or abstain, or if you choose to withhold your vote. And then sign it before you vote again. Everyone? How we doing? Got everything there, Jonathan?
Resolution.
Are we done?
Yes. Yeah.
In that case, thank you, everybody. I declare the poll closed. And as you can see from the slides, I think that doesn't explain to me.
Oh, sorry.
And you can see that from the slide above you, the resolution, just over 98% proxy votes have been placed in favour of the resolution. The final details will be published, as I said earlier, on the Lancashire News Information Service and on our website. So that concludes the formal business of the
Recharge
meeting.
battery.
And I declare the general meeting closed. And my sound disappeared. Can you still hear me, Jake?
We can still hear you online.
Okay, thanks very much, Lee. Sorry about that. The board is still here, even though the formal meeting is closed. And as I said at the beginning, we're very happy to take any general questions. I don't believe we got general questions in advance. Do we have any questions online? No. And are there any other questions in the room that we haven't already dealt with? Right, do you want to ask anything else? No? Thank you. There being no other questions in the room, my only formality left is to thank you for attending and formally close the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much to the board for updating attendees online this afternoon. Could I please ask attendees online not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the board can better understand your views and expectations. This won't take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the board of PCF Group PLC, we would like to thank you for attending today's general meeting. That now concludes today's session, so good afternoon to you all.